Welcome back. This is chapter first, Summer of the Beautiful White Horse, written by William Saria. So here I'm going to explain you page number second. So let's begin. So the author talks of two things, two parts in his life. First was the first was the part that involved the memories of the horses and his longing, his desire to ride. And in the second place, he remembers the poverty, remembers about poverty. So what he speaks of poverty, let's know. This was the part that wouldn't permit me to believe what I saw. And this part, that they were poor, did not allow him to believe what he saw. Now, he could not trust it. Being poor, you cannot own a horse. You cannot be the owner of a horse if you are a poor man. We were poor. We had no money. Our whole tribe was poverty stricken. So he says that we were poor. That is, they were poor, and not only poor, but they were poverty stricken. That is, suffering from poverty. Every branch of the Garagulanian family was living in the most amazing and comical poverty in the world. Nobody could understand where we ever got money enough to keep us with food in our bellies, not even the old men of the family. So, such poverty they suffered from, that nobody could understand where they ever got food, because they had no money. So how could they have a little food for themselves? How could they feed their themselves and others? How could they have little food in their stomach? That was a riddle. That was a puzzle for every member of the tribe. Not even the oldest member of the family had any answer to this question. And this was amazing poverty, a kind of poverty that you cannot imagine. Most important of all, though we were famous for our honesty, we had been famous for our honesty for something like 11 centuries, even when we had been the wealthiest family in what we like to think was the world. Now, talking of poverty, he comes to the next point, next thought, on that they were famous. They were famous for their honesty, that they were the honest people, and their honesty had a legacy, a long tradition of 11 centuries. That is, they had been honest people, trustworthy people, and their tradition of being honest run down to 11 centuries. That is, they remained honest for centuries together, 11 centuries. And even when they were the wealthiest families in the world, even when the world was poor and they were the wealthiest of all the tribes, they were honest. They never discarded honesty. They never let go honesty of their life, from their life. We were proud first, honest next, and after that, we believed in right and wrong. So he talks about the family and says that they were proud first. First of all, there was a pride feeling. Next they were famous, and third, they were honest. Or something like, sorry, what it says, They were proud first, honest next, and that they believed in right and wrong, and they always believed in right and wrong, that they always believed in doing right things and never doing anything wrong in their life. So that was their tradition. None of us would take advantage of anybody in the world, let alone steal, and or never ever in their life, in their history, or they ever try to cheat a person, take advantage of a situation. And here, talking about stealing, that is never a possibility. That cannot be a possibility at all. Consequently, even though I could see the horse so magnificent, even though I could smell it so lovely, even though I could hear it breathing so exciting, I couldn't believe the horse had anything to do with my cousin Murad, or with me, or with any of the other members of the family, asleep or awake, because I knew my cousin Murad couldn't have bought the horse, and if he couldn't have bought it, he must have stolen it, and I refused to believe he had stolen it. So now he says that, well, stealing can never be imagined in their tribe. So what he saw, what he could smell there, what he could hear. He could see the horse, he could smell the horse, he could hear the horse breathing, yet he was not ready to believe it, because believing that he was with a horse meant that he had stolen it, and there cannot be a second case, because they were poor. So he refused. None of them would believe. None of the family members, none of the tribe members would believe, and so he refused to believe it, that he had stolen it. No member of the Garogalian family could be a thief. No member. It's not possible that they could be a thief. I stared first at my cousin and then at the horse. There was a pious stillness and humor in each of them, with which on the one hand delighted me and on the other frightened me. So now he stared, he looked with fixed eyes at the horse and then the cousin, both of them. He stared, he looked, he gazed at them, both of them, his cousin Murad and the horse, and there was stillness, pious stillness, and there was a pious, a sacred, uh, a pure kind of stillness, calmness, and humor. And there was also humor, that is a mild, cool temperament. That is, the mood there was also still. Everything was quiet and calm and still, suggesting that no one was ruffled, no one was disturbed. So it delighted him. The horse delighted him, but at the same time he was frightened. Murad, I said, where did you steal this horse? Oh, he said, where did you steal the horse? He was frightened. He was delighted for the horse because he wanted to ride, and frightened because he feared that he had stolen, and stealing was not part of their family, their tribe. Murad, I said, where did you steal this horse? And now he asks the question, where did you steal this horse from? Leap out of the window, he said, if you want to ride. If you want to ride, then jump out of the window. If you wish to ride, jump out of the window and don't ask any question, he said. There was no question about it. He had come to invite me to ride or not as I chose. So there was no question about it that he had stolen the horse, and he had come here to ask him to come, and the choice remained with the cousin, that is with the author. If he chose to write, he could come. If he did not, then he could stay at home and he would go away then. Well, it seemed to me stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else. Now he tries to justify his action, because stealing can never be accepted. So he tries to justify the action of his cousin, says stealing a horse for a ride is not stealing, cannot be considered stealing, because stealing something else, such as money, for all I knew, maybe it wasn't stealing at all, because it's not the same thing as stealing money. When money is stolen, well, then it's used by the other person and it's never meant to, it's stolen not to be returned, not meant to be returned, and here they would return it. They did not say it was not stolen to be kept with them, to use it forever. Horses, the way my cousin Murad and I were. Something is missing. If you were crazy about horses, if you're crazy about horses, the way my cousin Murad and I were, it wasn't stealing, and it's justified saying that if you're crazy about horses and you steal it to be used for a time being, then it cannot be considered stealing. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse, which of course I knew we would never do. And he says that, well, if stealing is done with the purpose of selling it off, only then it becomes stealing. Otherwise, it's not a stealing, because he knew that his cousin Murad was going to return it. So this is the explanation. Thank you.